about this Eldrazi menace, as it feels like it's one of the storylines for this first trimester. Right, there's 3 Eldrazi decks in Vintage Super League, but we're 2 and 4 between us. So, we'll see. Maybe we get to 5-4 and it still looks like a real deck, but I don't know. We'll now you've actually had some success with the deck too, right? You ran the deck at the NYSE tournament like a week and a half ago.
Yep, last weekend. A week and a half ago. NYSE tournament in New York, around 160 players. I want to say, I hope I don't get this wrong. I think they said there were 7 vintage champions there.
Wow.
In the room, 7 former and current vintage champions. I played a white Eldrazi deck, very similar to the list Rich is going to be playing. We'll see him soon. I went 6-0-2 in the Swiss. I ended first seed.
Oh, wow. So the last undefeated double draw into top 8?
Yeah. So it was good for me, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, the deck is very powerful, but it's a list that has somewhere between 28 to 31 mana sources. You can't run that kind of deck without sometimes having things fall apart. But it didn't fall apart.
What did you lose to in the quarterfinals?
I lost to Mentor deck, blue, white, black Mentor deck. They were, I want to say the first 2 games were very close, and the third game was a vintage flowered hand. I think he had a Ancestral and Time Walk and Lotus on the play, and a turn 1 Mentor. But that happens, right? That's
I totally agree. I think that's a matchup where if they somehow stick an early Mentor, you're just going to lose from the Eldrazi side. But can they do that twice in 3 games? Like, not very often. The Mentor decks.
And sometimes many decks have no options against the turn 1 Mentor, unless they can kill right away. Sometimes Eldrazi, you draw 2 Reality Smashers. You have a Thorn of Amethyst out. They can't profitably block it. It does happen.
So you sound like you're a believer. The deck is for real.
I do like the deck. I wouldn't say it is far and away above all the other decks in the format, but I think it's a real deck. There were a few Eldrazi decks in that format. A lot of people are trying different ways to build a list. I can't guarantee the white way is the best way to build it, but I think it's a good way to build it. I like it. I recommend it to people to play. But I do know that the mana is just, it feels wrong. It worked for me. Every game worked for me, but it feels like it's tough.
Well, I've said this before, but to me it seems like you can't have all 3 of off-color Moxes for acceleration, Wastelands for disruption, and adequate white mana to actually cast white Hate Bears reliably. Like, you have to give up on one of those 3 things, I think, to make it work. And I honestly don't know which of those. Like, the Eldrazi list we'll see high on gives up on the Wastelands. And, he and I were talking about that when it was time to submit deck list. I don't think that's the right one to give up on. But, I mean, it's working fine for him. He's sitting on 2-0. I don't know. It's weird. It feels to me like the Eldrazi are almost the good guys in Vintage. Like, they're just honest creatures. They just want to attack.
They just want to attack.
You just want to. You're not attacking for 2.
5 on turn 2.
For 4 or 5. But, still, that's a good, honest living in Vintage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
maybe not. You don't look convinced.
No, it addresses the format a different way. That's always a good thing, right? Anytime you can't just play the exact same sideboard you played for the past 3 months. Every time you have to think about it a little bit more. That's a good thing. We'll see. I mean, I know some other formats had some Eldrazi scares. I don't know. I don't want to have an Eldrazi scare in Vintage, but I don't think we're there. I think it's just going to be a solid metagame player without creating some kind of horrible unbalance. I think it's a good addition.
I think I agree with you. I mean, it seems like if the metagame is Mentor and Storm, that is, if the metagame is all spells, you just slaughter them with all your Thorn of Amethyst and Thalia effects. But if there's a bunch of creature decks running around, then your deck is kind of junked up with all these Thorns and Thalias, and it has too many mana sources to actually sort of reliably play any kind of real game of Magic. We should look at the schedule. Talk about what we've got coming up tonight. We certainly will see white Eldrazi lists, a couple flavors of them, including in the first match. I think we've got a schedule graphic we can show you guys. It is going to be Rich versus Shuhei in match number 1. There you see it. Shuhei on an Oath deck. I understand this is a specific matchup you tested a lot.
Yeah, it's true. This is one of the matchups preparing for this event, a friend of mine was playing almost exactly Shuhei's list. I'm playing almost exactly Rich's list, and we played quite a few games to get a handle on it. So I'm excited to see the two of them play it out. Though I have to say, and this makes it even more exciting for me, it really felt like a genuine 50-50 matchup. That doesn't happen too often. They both have cards that are really good against the other deck.
The 4 Containment Priest main that Rich is running, though, I think put him over the top here. But we'll certainly see. It's Dredge. It's another place where Kai's going to wish he had 4 main deck Containment Priests, but he does not. So, Ephro's metagame call of Dredge, somehow he managed to get 3 opponents for this trimester, all 3 of whom were on Eldrazi decks. So he's 2-0 so far. But you'll have a thing or two to say about whether he gets to 3-0 because that's who you're pinch hitting for.
That's true. I like the fact that my opponent doesn't have the main deck priest, is a little light on the Grave Hate. But as of course we know with Dredge, anything is possible after you resolve your mulligans.
Meanwhile, Luis is also going to have a pinch hitter this week. Reed Duke will be playing the Pyro Delver deck that Luis is 1-1 with so far against my Eldrazi. Luis had a work conflict he could not get out of for this evening. And then you see Ravager Shops against Storm, and we will finish off the night with Paul Rietzel's Blue-Red Welder deck, which is somehow 2-0, just homebrew special, and he's been killing everybody. Yeah, Eric, and Kai are the 2-0s at this point. Me, Rich, and Webb are the 0-2s. Any match in particular you're looking forward to, other than the one you get to play?
Well, like I said, I'm really looking forward to the one I get to comment on as well.
All right.
I want to see if what I found holds up when two masters are playing the decks.
Yeah, I really think Rich is advantaged because of the Containment Priests. He's got Displacers too, which can sometimes cause issues for Oath. Although, to be fair, they don't cause issues for Shuhei's Bomberman combo version of the Oath deck. They definitely do cause problems for the people who are on just Emrakul and Grizzlebrand.
I will say something to watch out for, sort of unexpected MVP of the matchup for Shuhei's deck was the Engineered Explosives. Very tough for me to deal with.
Yeah, we might be able to put Shuhei's deck list up. I know that we're also experimenting with some new streaming software this week, so I'm still working out the kinks. Apologize if the show is at all rough around the edges, but I'm optimistic that the tech problems that have caused us issues the last couple of weeks will go away as we sort this out. So hopefully, we can take a look at Shuhei's deck list, and there you go. Here's Shuhei's deck list, and yeah, there's the 2 copies of Engineered Explosives in the main deck that you were talking about. That is a very relevant card in a matchup where Rich is often just going to be all in on Containment Priest.
Absolutely, and not only that, it's all 2s. All the cards that matter are 2s. There's Thalia and Thorn are huge.
Sure.
I was finding in the matchup, after playing a bunch of games, just naming Engineered Explosives with the first Revoker, even if I didn't see one, because it was so bad if it hit play. And if you have not played a ton of Vintage, I don't know if this comes up in other formats as much. There's a really neat thing involving Engineered Explosives and Sunburst is the mechanic.
Yep.
So Engineered Explosives, you pay X, it comes with X counters on it. That's how you think of it. But if you choose to play Engineered Explosives with X equals 0 into a board with 2 sphere effects, like a Thalia and a Thorn of Amethyst, it doesn't care that you paid 0 mana. It only cares what colored mana you cast. So you can still put it into play with 2 counters.
Right. So you have to pay 2 for your X equals 0 Engineered Explosives. But, hey, you paid a blue and a red, so you get 2 counters.
Exactly. It's one of the only cards in the game where if your opponent goes turn 1 sphere, turn 2 sphere, you can just play it on turn 2 right on schedule, sack it on turn 3, clear their board.
Yeah.
It's a really powerful play if they're going to bury you under spheres.
Yeah, it's a great point. We actually saw Shuhei play that incorrectly back in the qualifier tournament. I don't know if he's probably got a little more experience with the deck now. Probably has that play figured out by now. But it is a nice little trick. If we can look at Rich's deck list, we can show you the Eldrazi deck that Shuhei will be up against. And you do see those 4 main deck Containment Priests. And the thing is, Yeah, they are huge. And, normally with Grafdigger's Cage, the Bomberman Oath deck can just say, whatever, I'll activate my Oath. Yeah, I can't put my giant creature into play, but, look, it was RX Salvagers. I can just cast it for 4 mana. Containment Priest does not work that way. Containment Priest says if the creature would come into play, instead exile it. So you can't activate Oath just as a way to tutor for RX Salvagers because it'll get exiled if you do that versus a Containment Priest. So they are even hosier than the Grafdigger's Cages you may have seen in the past. All right, this is the list. Rich is on pretty much the stock White Eldrazi list. That's kind of the most common version of it that you see running around, and our players are ready. So time to find out. Is it going to be the Eldrazi Menace, or does Oath have all the answers?